Ladies and gentlemen, won't you please join us on our cinematic journey as we watch the spectacular and the craptacular. Welcome to Movies with the Man. I'm Murray.
I'm Justin.
And this week we are doing The Adventures of Ford Fairlane, the 1990 film starring Andrew Dice Clay.
Directed by Rennie Harlin. I couldn't believe it was Rennie Harlin.
I am completely not into the Strangers movies.
Mm-hmm.
I've only seen one. Had no idea he's the one directing all of them.
Yeah, I've never seen any of them.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was him doing it. But I will say, if you're not familiar with him, he's got some movies under his belt that I greatly enjoy. Movies like Long Kiss Goodnight, Deep Blue Sea, Cliffhanger, and
Die Hard 2.
Die Hard 2. That's the one I skipped right over that one on my list. He did do Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master.
That's how we end up with Robert Englund.
Oh, I never had thought about that connection. Yeah, that makes sense.
A little bit of trivia, but I read that it was supposed to be Billy Idol playing Smiley, the killer.
They went after David Bowie for Wayne Newton's character of Julian Grendel, and that didn't pan out.
Idol was going to do it, and then he got in a serious motorcycle wreck, and he was unable to do it. Apparently, Rennie Harlin asked Robert Englund personally if he would.
I'm going to go ahead and point this out. I thought Robert Englund was amazing in that role. I loved how ridiculous it was.
Just totally chewing up the scenery.
Hello. So the movie stars Andrew Dice Clay, Lauren Holly, Wayne Newton, Ed O'Neill, Priscilla Presley, and Robert Englund. Has a bunch of cameos from random people like David Patrick Kelly, Gilbert Gottfried, Morris Day, Sheila E., Vince Neil, and even Kurt Loder. Is it Pamela Adlon? Is that her name? I can't remember, but one of the Pussycats is the one who says the joke about David Patrick Kelly's penis being small. Mm-hmm. She is the voice of Bobby Hill.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I did not catch that.
The writers are Daniel Waters, James Capp, and David Arnett. Capp and Arnett, I don't know if I'm even pronouncing their names right. God, I'm terrible at this. Arnott wrote Last Action Hero. Capp mostly did TV. Matter of fact, I think all his stuff was TV, but Daniel Waters wrote Heathers, Hudson Hawk, Batman Returns, and Demolition Man. I know a lot of people don't like Hudson Hawk, but once again, I have terrible taste in movies, and I love that movie.
Did Clay have a writing credit on this? Because a lot of it's just his stand-up.
He should have.
Yes.
Yeah, I never even thought about that.
Just straight lifting his stand-up at points and doing it in the movie.
I laughed when I read all the scores to this movie.
Hit me with them.
It's a 6.4 on IMDb, which is high.
That's kind of generous.
Movie. I don't think it's high for how I feel about the movie, but I think it's high for what I expected the public to feel about the movie.
It's kind of high for how I feel about the movie.
Letterboxd is a 2.9, so almost a 3, which is also surprising. Rotten Tomatoes critic score. Want to guess how low it is?
Critic score, 10.
23.
Oh.
Audience, 68.
Pretty impressive.
Here's the ones that blew my mind. Just Watch, 87%. Now, here's the one that really cracked me up. Amazon, 4.7.
Out of 5?
Yes. Out of like 1,000 reviews. Holy Moses.
People love this movie.
And that's one thing I did read. It's gained a giant cult following. Roger Ebert, want to guess what he gave it out of 4?
Oh, I would guess like 1.
That's what he gave it out of 4. This movie, when it came out, was originally going to come out in May that year. And the studios decided to hold the movie back from May and release it in July because they wanted to build what they called Andrew Dice Clay awareness. Even though he was the biggest comedian in the world at the time, so they didn't need to do that. And it ended up being a giant mistake. Rennie Harlin was directing another movie around the same time called Die Hard 2. And when they moved Fairlane to July, they made it compete directly with Die Hard 2. Rennie Harlin did no promo for this movie at all.
He said he wasn't going to split his time promoting. He stuck to Die Hard 2.
And what'd you expect? Between the two movies, I'm choosing Die Hard 2 because, let's be real, it's going to be the bigger of the two. The movie was $49 million to make, made a whopping 20 back at the theater.
That is interesting. That is vastly different than what I read for the budget. I read budget was $20 million. Maybe that was adding in
advertising. Well, that's possible. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
They usually have to add 50% on to the budget. Basically, it lost money.
The thing is that it's went on to gain this cult following, but it's not available everywhere to just buy. It's one of those movies that I wish like Kino Lorber or Lorber, or however you say their name, would release as like a special release.
That's right up their alley.
If I can get Envy on Blu-ray, why can't I get this movie? Let's be real. Who's watching Envy?
That's right. Who is watching it?
I am, because I own it. All right. This movie starts off in the beginning with Ford giving a monologue about how his days sucked and how it's all going to start all over. And we are treated to a rock concert where a guy comes in like he's Shawn Michaels in the WWF.
Right. Yeah.
And then they light him on fire when he lands on the stage.
Blazing.
Yes,
I mean, he's like the Human Torch.
And he's not properly covered. So his hair and his face would have melted.
Right.
Like, this is not how this would have worked.
They hit him with the fire extinguisher, and he's fine.
Yeah.
He's doing the concert.
And then he starts singing the most typical 80s sounding hairband song. Then he dies on stage.
Yeah, just flop. He's dead.
And there's really no explanation as to why are we watching this, other than that's where the whole case starts.
No, it throws your right into it. That concert was at Red Rocks in Colorado, so that was interesting. It was not in California, but they make it seem like in the movie it's a concert in Southern California.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I just assumed it was in California. Ford is currently on a case for a female band that's being stalked by this redhead guy. His name is Sam the Sleazebag, as they refer to him. That's played by David Patrick Kelly. The band that he's working for, this just irritated me because I felt like, okay, come on. You couldn't have came up with something better than this. But the band is literally the Pussycats, and the lead singer is Josie. And I just thought, how lame.
It's like they're stealing that, right? I mean, that's lifting it.
While I love this movie, I will full on admit it is a terribly written movie. The way they foreshadow things, they throw things into the movie for absolutely no reason other than this is going to pay off later. They lay it on like extra thick peanut butter. It's so bad. They make a point for Clay to point out that Jazz has karate lessons. And there was no reason for him to say that other than later in the movie, Jazz has a karate fight.
That's totally correct. Blatant foreshadowing.
Oh, I forgot about Tone Loc has a cameo in this movie.
Yes.
And when he shows up in the movie, why are they just rapping outside of a business for no reason at all? They're just a bunch of dudes standing outside rapping for no reason. Oh, I know why he's there. So when one of the guys jumps over the railing and lands on his boombox, they can beat him up. I mean, it's just stuff like that through the whole movie. Or Clay goes up to the bar and gets a drink, a Sambuca milkshake. And it's like, what's the point to this scene? Oh, I know why. Because later in the movie, he's going to use it to light somebody on fire. It's the show don't tell thing, but they are telling you. They are telling you to it.
Yes, their philosophy is
business.
Tell, then tell again.
But anyways,
it's so bizarre. Yeah, Tone Loc shows up for one scene and then is gone, never to be seen again. And he was a decent sized star at the time. He's in Ace Ventura. He's in Heat. I mean,
he's in the classic Surf Ninjas.
Yes. That too.
So, like I said, Ford is on this case, and he goes to this club. Now, you have to understand, his character is the rock and roll detective, and everybody's into him and thinks he's so cool.
Ford Fairlane is the center of the universe.
Yes, that's what I was getting at, because when he pulls up, the entire crowd stops to watch him get out of his car and walk up there, which, by the way, he's wearing a leather jacket with, I think, his car airbrushed onto the back of his leather jacket. If not, it's still a car, and I just thought it was lame. I mean, it's of the era. It reeks of Clay.
I mean, you got to know Andrew Dice Clay. That was his shtick.
And like I said, he walks into this club, and as he's walking in, women are coming up to him and smacking him.
Women are throwing themselves at him
left and right.
And he's pretty obnoxious.
He is so unlikable. As I was watching this movie, I was like, this is one of the most unlikable heroes I have ever seen in a movie. And what I thought was funny is the only way I can see how the audience even gets to a point to liking him is the fact that they make a character in the movie, Wayne Newton's character, Julian Grendel,
so much worse.
So worse that it's like, if Andrew Dice Clay's character, Fairlane, is, let's say he's a 5 on the how terrible of a person you think he is, Julian Grendel is 100 out of 10 because he is awful.
He is mustache twirling. He is so bad. He is such a bad guy. So blatant. It is unbelievable.
Oh, by the way, I left this out. Let's jump back just for a second to Bobby Black dying. I want to point out that this dude looks like he's choking on stage, and the guitarist and the bass player are like, hey, what's going on? They're concerned. The drummer
keeps going.
The drummer just keeps rocking out hardcore while the crowd is just jamming. It's obvious this dude passed out on the stage and died. And yet there are people who are oblivious to it.
It's so fun. And what's funny is my first watch had no idea it was Vince Neil. I should have known by him singing. It just didn't click. And then I research and then watch it a second time. And it's like, oh yeah, that's Vince Neil.
One of the so going back to the club, when he walks in, he lights a cigarette. In this scene, the way they film it, they show a close up of him opening his jacket, and he has a leather holder inside of his jacket that he wears that holds the cigarettes, and he pulls out a cigarette, reaches over to his right, and he has on his belt a Zippo lighter holder, and he whips that out and lights up his cigarette. Is that like, who has this?
Dude, I guarantee you in the 90s there were dudes
because of him or just
because
people in general.
Yeah, because of him. Seriously, this dude was a thing.
You're older than me, so you got to.
I lived through it.
Don't get me wrong. I paid attention and saw it, but I didn't understand what I was seeing like you might have at that time.
Yeah, it was just, it's hard to explain. It was like a year there where he was just like the center of the entertainment universe. People couldn't get enough of him. And then obviously it was so intense, there was going to be an obvious backlash against him. And it was huge. And I mean, it killed his career.
I get that he was controversial and I get that he said a lot of things that pissed people off, but how many other comedians did the same exact thing and everybody just let them go? It's like he was the example they needed to make out of somebody.
And he totally was.
And I think it's completely unfair to him. So he's walking through the club. He's there, like I said, looking for Sam the Sleazebag, runs into two guys, makes a joke about what are your guys' names, Neil and Bob, or is that what you do?
Yeah, that's straight out of his stand-up.
Yeah. From there, he goes and talks to Don Cleveland, who's played by Morris Day from Morris Day and the Time. And that's when a woman, once again, let's talk about this foreshadowing in this movie. A woman comes up and hits on him and tells him, cancel whatever you're doing the next day. Her name's Melody. Surprise. She's going to show back up later in the movie, which when she does, it has to be one of the biggest male cliche fantasies ever put on film. So from there, he goes, and here, again, more foreshadowing. This is where he goes and gets his Sambuca milkshake, and for no reason at all, takes one sip, sits it down, doesn't have anything else to do with it, then ends up finding Sam the Sleazebag. What I find greatly entertaining about this scene is that once he realizes it's Sam the Sleazebag, Sam tries to run off because Ford slides him across the bar, does the whole thing where they slam him on the bar, smash everybody's drinks, because apparently Ford is allowed to do whatever he wants, wherever he goes. It
seems to be a trend with our films, movie heroes.
David Patrick Kelly starts running off. For some reason, the entire scene goes into slow motion. And as Kelly's running off, Ford extends his arm and he has a hidden gun mechanism under his sleeve that the gun pops out of. And then he shoots the disco ball down and it lands on Sam the Sleazebag. Then he puts him in handcuffs and takes him back to his business. Puts him in the trunk of his car and leaves him there overnight because he's allowed to do all this stuff.
He is the rock and roll detective.
I guess.
The Pussycats show up at his business.
But before we get to that, because you go back to the house, it's where he wakes up and the twins went back home with him.
Right.
And he wakes up to this ridiculous alarm clock of Purple Haze playing on a reel-to-reel. And it's super loud that the entire neighborhood could probably hear it. Which, by the way, that house, the house that he lived in, why the hell did it look like it had fog inside of it all the time? Like, it looked like it was just misty inside his house. I didn't understand that. I was very confused by why his house looked like it looked like somebody's permanently smoking a cigarette inside of it at all times. And it was a disaster.
Oh,
the house was disgusting. I was not understanding, why was your house so gross? It's just you.
Okay. He serves Priscilla Presley later a drink out of a used blender.
Yeah,
I mean, so gross.
After he picks we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go with this movie because, like I said, there's just so much dumb in this movie.
Well, it's interesting. The two blondes he ends up with at the end of the night, when they leave, they go and they get into a Ferrari. Rennie Harlan's Ferrari.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
That's one of those moments in movies where I always wonder, did he just use it or did he make the studio pay him to use it?
Not sure.
This is where we get introduced to a kid who I believe they just refer to as the kid because I don't remember ever catching a name. And this kid shows up. Ford tells him the girls were Girl Scouts and he just bought 2 boxes. Then they go through some little motions with the kid where he mimics Ford because he clearly idolizes him and all that stuff. Where does he come from? Who is he? Because In this movie, we learned that his dad is dead and his old lady, as he refers to his mom, ran off. Right. So where does he live?
I think he's just living on the beach.
Yeah, that's what I was confused by. And then later on in the movie, Ford's like, I'm going to take care of you. How? Like, what legal means does this man have to just take this kid in?
He's the rock and roll detective, so he can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants.
Then that's where we go to the business, because he goes there and takes Sam the sleazebag with him, and that's where we're introduced to Tone Loc rapping outside of the business, which I still don't understand why he's there doing that. Wouldn't you rather do that at your house, like on your porch or whatever?
I guess maybe they're down on the beach, so
maybe, but it didn't look like a boardwalk. It looked like either like a mini mall or like a business area. That's like not somewhere that you would do that at. I was even looking around to see if it was a high traffic area or something like that. Didn't appear to be
really
that way.
Appear that.
And this is where we're introduced to Lauren Holly's character, Jazz. That is his secretary, or as he refers to her later in the movie, his girlfriend, which makes zero sense considering he's banging lots of other women and doing all the other stuff that he's doing. If they're boyfriend-girlfriend, he might be one of the worst boyfriends put to film.
Oh, yeah. There is no reason someone that looks like Lauren Holly would be putting up with that.
Oh, yeah.
She looks amazing in this.
She'd have been my girlfriend. Yeah. I'd have gave up the life. Then the Pussycats show up, and that's where they confirm that Sam the sleazebag is in fact the guy. Then they do a mock castration. And that's where Sam jumps off the railing, and Ford's business is on the second floor. When he jumps off, he lands on Tone Loc's boombox, and then they beat the crap out of him.
Lesson learned.
Yeah. And it is lesson learned, because later on in the movie, he shows up completely reformed.
That's right.
And ends up hanging out with the Pussycats, because that makes total sense, because the rapey stalker guy changed his ways in less than 24 hours. Mind you, maybe 48 at the most. I don't know how many hours we go. It's not a week. It's not even a week in this movie.
Right.
And this is what happens.
Well, then, like you said, the Pussycats are there, and they pay Ford with a gold piece of jewelry, and Ford is super annoyed by this. All he wants is cash, and he can't get anyone to pay him in cash.
Milli Vanilli paid him in hair extensions and biker shorts. INXS pays him with a koala, which, by the way, is the worst koala I've ever seen in a movie. Not that I've seen a lot of koalas in a movie, but this was clearly a puppet. It looked like somebody took a koala they bought at Walmart and cut it into pieces in order to make the parts move, and then just made it a puppet. It's terrible. It is awful. Like, when my wife walked through when I was watching the movie, she laughed and was like, is that for real?
Laughed at the koala?
She's like, is that supposed to be real? Yeah, it's bad. And that's, like I said,
oh boy. My wife had to watch this with me. On their first watch, she watched it with me, and she's like, I don't have to watch this a second time.
And this is where, like, Jazz plays their voicemails, and I never caught this in the millions of times I've watched this movie, but the first voicemail, because she's mad because all the bimbos are calling and leaving voicemails, the woman says, "Call me, Ford, I'm walking again." When she leaves her voicemail message. Yeah.
I'm walking again.
And then that's where we get introduced to Gilbert Gottfried's character, Johnny Crunch, because he leaves a message telling Ford to come visit him because he's got work for him. And Johnny Crunch is
an old friend.
Yeah, and he's a shock jock on the radio, like a Howard Stern, but way worse. Like, to the point that I'm pretty sure not going to be allowed on air, some of the stuff he was saying. I was like, I don't think this guy would really be on the radio very long. When he's going to drive to go meet Johnny Crunch at the studio, he's telling a story about everything going on, and the dialogue here just goes on to show how dumb his character is, but his accent just makes it amazing. When he goes, "See what I'm saying? What am I saying? I don't know." And that's what I enjoy about this character, is how stupid he is. When he thinks he's figured out the whole plot and what's going on, dead wrong. He's got it completely wrong the whole time. And it's so stupid because at one point in the movie, he thinks, "I knew it. It was Colleen Sutton." because they leave her hat there. And I thought, man, if that's not a Scooby-Doo clue.
Right.
I was like, why would they just leave the hat?
He's a terrible detective.
Yes, he's awful.
Yeah.
His best clue.
They leave clues right in front of him.
His best clue he gets in the whole movie is this clue of somebody's name, Art Mooney. That's the only clue he gets that he genuinely finds on his own that makes sense to be a clue. And it ends up being like the linchpin clue that brings everything together. But everything else, terrible. He ends up uncovering everything just by bumbling around. I want to point something out about the secretary at the front desk of the
radio station.
Yeah. She has hair like she's a Hunger Games villain. And I did not understand why.
Yes.
I was like, who wears their hair like this? But what was so bizarre,
they're like, her hair is put up like their horns, and it looks ridiculous.
And apparently Johnny Crunch is so hated that they have to be like hardcore with security, to the point that later on when Ford runs back to the building because Johnny Crunch is getting killed on air and they don't believe it, the security guard just pulls a gun on Ford. You knew Ford was here 5 minutes ago.
You saw him 5 minutes ago.
and Johnny Crunch was clearly alive and okay with him being there when he left. Why did you pull a gun on him?
You know, security is super high, but somehow a killer gets in and,
that's the other thing
and electrocutes Johnny Crunch.
Ford goes up there. Johnny Crunch has a job for him. And Johnny Crunch tells him this story about his daughter named Zuzu Petals.
Yeah, he wants him to find his daughter, Zuzu Petals. And
it's a load of BS is what it is.
Yeah, he wasn't buying it. I wasn't buying it. No one was buying it. But, that's the linchpin of the story.
But he ends up offering
$4,000.
Okay, so he ends up offering him $4,000, but gives him, $100? Clay leaves. And what I love about this is, like, he's doing this, like, imagine stiffening up your legs and not bending your knees and then kicking them out and walking forward. And he's going, money, 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 like Mr. Krabs. Dude, I cracked up so hard at that because I was like, I've done that. I was like, I have been excited and walked just like he's walking right now. I feel him. So he drives off and he comes back because Johnny Crunch starts getting electrocuted on the radio. I want to point out Johnny Crunch was getting electrocuted for like 10 minutes. And then when Ford gets up there and you see how he's getting electrocuted, I was like, yeah, I don't think this would have worked the way it did. And then why was his sound engineer hanging from the ceiling when he got in there?
Well, I think he says that, oh my God, he just killed my sound man.
Yeah, but he was hanging from the ceiling.
I don't know why
Ford runs in and his body just plops down. And this is where we're introduced to Lieutenant Amos, played by Ed O'Neill.
The great Ed O'Neill.
Which is glorious.
Yes.
So Ford's walking around after talking to Amos, and he starts talking about how, I've had a lot of jobs in my life. I was a roadie, a publicist, I was Jimmy Osmond's bodyguard and personal secretary. And then he goes, but there's one thing I know that can make any job really good. It's a really good clue. And that's where he finds the Art Mooney clue. But I love how he goes, this case is getting closed.
That's right.
Yeah. Then when he's leaving, and that's when he gets into the argument with Amos, because he keeps calling him Lieutenant Anus. He finally asks him, why do you hate me so much? And that's when Amos reveals that he used to be in a disco band called Disco Express, and they had a song called Booty Time.
And then he starts singing Booty Time.
And when Clay was a publicist back in the day, they tried to get him to promote the song, and he told them it sucked. So that's why he hates it.
And then Lieutenant Amos starts singing Booty Time across the USA. And then he's dancing and gyrating, and it's just so freaking funny.
Yeah, and all the police there stop and are looking at him like, what are you doing? Yeah. What makes it even better is later on in the movie, Don Cleveland realizes he's the lead singer of Disco Express. He's like, oh, as far as I'm concerned, Booty Time's the only white disco song. So Don Cleveland wants to work with him.
Which makes his day. Did you notice when they're inspecting the dead body of Johnny Crunch, he finds the envelope that has $4,000 in it, and it's all burned up.
Oh, Fairlane goes, oh, I could cry.
Yeah.
And then the cop goes, it's all right to cry, Ford.
Yeah.
And it was all over the money, not over Johnny Crunch.
Right.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
When he goes home after Johnny Crunch dies, why is he burning everything? He burns the photo of him and Johnny Crunch. He burns the drumsticks from when they were like in a band together. And that's where the kid shows up and offers Ford $100 to help him find his dad. And this is where he gives the monologue about before my old lady ran off, which I was like, is that how you refer to your mom? But he's got a ring with Fred Flintstone on it that almost every time they show it, it goes, yabba dabba doo. And he offers Fairlane $100, and Fairlane's like, I'm not taking your money. But Fairlane wakes up the next morning and he's got the $100 in his hand. And he goes, oh, I took his money.
So the next day, that's when he meets Colleen Sutton.
Yeah, she comes to the house, and she has a story about how Zuzu Pedals is her sister. Sister, and offers him $5,000. And he offers her a drink. He picks up a Minute Maid orange juice container off his counter, and underneath it is just sticky goo that looks like melted cheese attached to it.
It's so disgusting.
Then he flips it over and just dumps it into the blender.
The used blender.
The dirty blender, and gives it to her. And he goes, sorry about the glass in my house, in my breath. Then his alarm goes off and scares her, and she spills the juice all over her. But like I said, she offers him the money. So now he's actually getting paid to go look for Zuzu Pedals. And from here is where you start uncovering that everybody is connected. Johnny Crunch, Colleen Sutton. Then you figure out Colleen Sutton is Julian Grendel's ex-wife. What this all circles around is that Julian Grendel is ripping off his company because he found out that he's not making as much money off of his artists as he wants. So he's bootlegging all their material, and Bobby Black found out about it and made CDs with all the data on it, proving it. And that's why everybody wants Zuzu Pedals, because they think she has the CDs. And
she has one of the CDs.
She has one of them, and the other one is with the Art Mooney stuff, which we'll get to that later. And then Colleen Sutton has one of the CDs herself.
Yeah, and it turns out you need all 3 of the CDs
in order to get the data off
information.
Of them,
yeah,
which I was like, that's really advanced for 1990.
Yes. So after Colleen hires him, he goes to Johnny Crunch's boat. Did you catch the name of Johnny Crunch's boat?
The Royal Penis?
The Mighty Penis.
The Mighty Penis. That's what it was. I knew it was something penis. I was like, because he's walking out there and thought like maybe his boat would be hard to find since Johnny was trying to hide out. And he goes, nah, maybe not. And when he's in there, this is a sex dungeon. Right. There's dildos everywhere. There's chains and whips and all kinds of gross. I mean, like I'd have been afraid to touch anything in this thing. And he opens up a medicine cabinet. Standing behind it is Robert Englund. And he goes, hello, hello. And then just punches the crap out of Ford Fairlane, doesn't he?
Ford closes the door.
Oh, yeah. Then he punches
and then he gets
Yeah, I forgot he closed the door like that was going to help. Yeah.
Right.
And then they end up getting into a huge fight. Now, what I thought was entertaining about, we skipped over the fact that he finds out that Colleen Sutton was banging Johnny Crunch. And he found a tape of Crunch pretending to be a dog, and she was the master. And
it was a collie was written on the.
Yeah, and
he was like, "Hey, I like Lassie."
Yeah. So they get into a fight, and what I love about this fight is that for some reason there's just loaded shotguns mounted to the wall.
That's right. He grabs one.
Yeah, and he grabs one and just starts blowing holes in the boat. So the boat is now sinking while they're fighting on it. And I'm going to go out on a limb here. Smiley does not survive what happens here. Fairlane grabs a TV, and I mean old school tube TV because it's 1990, and smashes it on Smiley's head, and he falls into the water. That dude's drowning. That dude is dying right there.
I will always say a person can survive being hit by a television.
Why?
Because our buddy Joe and I have an argument that in the original Scream, Stu gets killed by a TV falling on him, and I always say he could have survived that.
I'm more talking about how he got knocked out by the television being smashed on his head.
And then falls
he's
in the water.
He would have drowned.
That's true.
That's my thing. I maybe survived the TV smashing, but I don't think people understand the amount of effort and strength you would need to smash a tube television on somebody's head.
They were incredibly heavy.
Yes. So one of the things that we left out of the Colleen Sutton conversation that they had, once again proving how terrible of a detective I think he is and how he's not subtle about anything. After she spills the juice on her, he goes, by the way, I was just talking to my good friend, Art Mooney, about bleaches. Because later on, he tries it with Julian Grendel and drops Art Mooney to see if
he keeps dropping the name Art Mooney to see if it clicks with anyone, and no one knows who the hell Art Mooney is.
Yeah, and from here is where he goes on to meet Julian Grendel, because he goes to ask Don Cleveland about Johnny Crunch and who might have wanted to kill him, which Cleveland points out everyone wanted to kill Johnny Crunch. While they're there, there's this new artist that Julian Grendel is trying to promote called Kyle Troy, who has the most ridiculous hair. and he is singing the most ridiculous song I've ever heard in my life. You would have to listen to it yourself in order to behold how stupid this song is.
Julian Grindle is like, yeah, this is not good, but he's the next big thing.
So Ford starts bashing Julian Grindle, and Julian Grindle's actually there, and he doesn't realize it. So Grindle goes on this big, long thing about how making an artist big has nothing to do with the music. One of the things he says during this is ridiculous. He says they have to ship him platinum so the teenage girls have something to get wet with. And that was the moment I realized, I figured it out. I now like Ford because this dude is a pile of duty.
Like I said, he's straight up, he's twirling his mustache. He's such a bad guy. Yeah. And of course, Wayne Newton, you just imagine Wayne Newton saying all this crap.
I liked Wayne Newton in this movie. I believed he was an actual jerk in this movie. I wondered, are you a jerk in real life?
I'm going to guess yes.
So then Ford goes in there to sing what he claims is real rock and roll. And I just in my notes wrote down cringy because this whole part of the movie, if there's any part of the movie I could cut out, it would be this part of the movie because it is not, I'm sorry, it's not good. And
it adds nothing to this.
No, it's completely pointless. It's absolutely pointless. And this is where he leaves and tells the story about getting banned from MTV.
And apparently Andrew Dice Clay had been supposed to be permanently banned from MTV, but I guess it only lasted a few years.
And then he walks by two bad guys who are going to be the bad guys who are chasing after him, who are wearing, as described by the kid later in the movie, long cowboy coats and really nice suits, I think Armani.
Yeah. I think I end up calling them the Armani Cowboys.
I refer to them as the fashionable bikers.
They're Julie Grindle's
they're like his lackeys. I didn't understand why they were at the studio because Ford says, "You guys in a band?" And they go, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, what's it called?" And they go, "Pain." And
that's it.
The next scene is nighttime, so lots of time passes in between there. There's no reason for them to have been there unless they were there with Grindle. And I didn't even think about that till now. They might have been there because they work for him, so that explains why. Maybe they're like bodyguards or something like that.
Now, did Grindle hire Smiley as well?
Yeah.
Then he's running around, and then he's got the Armani Cowboys.
Yeah.
And none of them can kill Ford.
And by the way, we told this all completely out of order, because this is where he goes to Johnny Crunch's boat, and this is where we meet Smiley. We jumped ahead, but it's after all that. We did gloss over something when he was on the boat. He finds a clue there, too, which, there are little glimmers that he's actually doing a good job, like the Art Mooney clue. This clue is a party that is happening. I believe Colleen Sutton was putting it on, which he ends up going to. And once again, it's another place where you realize that Julian Grindle is a horrible human being. Because when he sees Ford, he goes, "Aren't you a dose of hard reality and a sea of diarrhea?"
They never pass up a moment to make him just the most horrible person on the planet.
That's when Grindle starts trying to act like he's getting ripped off to try to throw Ford off the case. Is like, you don't know that at this point in the movie, but you figure out later on, if you put two and two together, that's what was going on. This is where we see Ford eat some food that he absolutely does not like. And when Jazz walks up,
it's so gross.
He spits all the food into Jazz's mouth. I would have vomited.
Yeah.
And I would have punched him in his sack. It would have been
so disgusting.
He has Jazz follow Colleen around. Colleen bumps into her, realizes she's being followed, and then gives her one of the CDs. And that's where we first start learning about the CDs and what they are. That's where you also learn that him and Jazz have a history together, where they actually had a weekend where they went and did things together. And so you pretty much figure out she's in love with him, and he's kind of a douche to her.
Yeah, why she's in love with him, I have no idea. They had like a magical weekend.
From here we go to a scene where Ford is sitting on a couch watching his TV, and he ends up seeing a Bobby Black video. And he just happens to catch that Zuzu Pedals is in the Bobby Black video. And that's how we end up at Bobby Black's funeral. So as Ford arrives to the funeral, he has to buy tickets to get in from a guy who's scalping them. Ford comes up, and the guy charges him $300. And Ford's like, "But you charged all the women $100. And he's like, "Oh, they blew me." And he's like, $300 it is. So when they show Bobby Black's casket, it is being airlifted in. It is a giant see-through cylinder.
Cylinder lit up. It's got lights all over.
And there's all these women trying to touch it. This is where Ford ends up meeting Zuzu Pedals, because he's asking each person, "Have you seen this girl? Have you seen this girl?" And he ends up asking her, "Have you seen this girl?" And she's like, "Is this a trick question?" And he realizes it's her. she must be in trouble because she says, "Help me, please." She drops to her knees and he's like, "Oh, all you got to do is say thank you." And she calls him a jerk, punches him in his stuff, and then runs off. And it becomes this chase scene where Smiley ends up grabbing her.
Smiley shows up.
They're driving through this cemetery, smashing through graves. He's got a limo and Ford
grabs a hearse.
Hearse because his tires are slashed. And the hearse has a body in the back of it. Thousands of people everywhere. And I'm confused by where are the police? Because the police would be at this event.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way they wouldn't be at a big rock star's funeral. And one of the things that I greatly enjoyed about it is when Ford goes to make his mechanism come out of his hand at Smiley.
Yeah, the hidden gun.
Yeah, the hidden gun pops out, breaks, and flies across and lands in Smiley's car.
And Smiley's like, "Thanks, I got one."
Yeah, he goes, "No, thanks, I got me own." And he's got a little machine gun and starts shooting the crap out of him. And that's when Ford almost ends up wrecking at one point, and the body from the back of the car flies forward into the front seat of the car, and it's a chick. And then he's like freaking out because the dead body's there. And then at one point he looks at her boobs and says, "I hope you're an organ donor."
And she's not dead.
No, when Ford ends up stopping, she falls over and she wakes up and she goes, "Man, you mortician sure can party." He goes, "Ah!" And he runs out of the car.
He gets her back from Smiley.
Yeah. Smiley runs off because Smiley crashes the car into a grave, an open grave, a ridiculously sized grave. Like maybe there's no reason for it to be big enough for a car to land inside of it. And then that's when Ed O'Neill shows up and for some reason is scratching his crotch the entire scene. And I didn't catch it.
I wonder if he just did. He's like, "I'm just going to do something stupid."
Dude, it took me up until this year watching it for this podcast for me to realize I never caught that he was scratching because I never understood why Ford said, "Hey, they make a cream that'll kill that stuff." I was like, why did he say that? Then I was like, oh my God, he's scratching his crotch.
He is going to town.
Oh, and during this chase scene, I might point out that they hit Bobby Black's casket and it shoots it down a hill. So it's rolling with his dead body in it while all these women are chasing after it down the hill.
Just utterly ridiculous.
I'll be honest. If that was like real life, it would have been the greatest day of my life to be at that funeral and watch all that happen. I'll never forget this. Best funeral I've ever been to. At this point in the movie, this is where you realize that Ford thinks that Colleen Sutton is trying to rip off Grendel. And they go back to Ford's house, and Zuzu goes over to watch TV. Ford starts walking into another room, and the fashionable bikers, or the Armani Cowboys, as Justin calls them, have hung the koala. So it's just spinning around.
Oh, yeah, they've trashed the place, too.
Did they? I was like, I couldn't tell. It was already pretty garbage. I was like, there was stuff everywhere already. I don't know. I couldn't tell if they trashed it or if it just looked that way. And he goes in another room and the koala is spinning around on the ceiling fan because they hung it.
And so it just got personal.
And somehow Ford realizes that Zuzu shouldn't turn on the TV, but she does. And it explodes.
Right.
Then
blows them out of the house, but they're okay.
No. It's not the TV. That's when Zuzu goes over to the microwave and says, "Are you cooking something?" And he's like, "Run!" And then they got to run out of the house. It's like, man, this is really overkill. I'm like, what if they're going to blow up the whole house? What was the point to blowing up the TV?
Right.
No, there was no point to that. They get out, they run down the thing, and then the kid shows up and he's all beat up and says he tried to fight him.
But then he gets mad and accuses Ford of not caring and runs off. The kid could have been cut out of the movie and it would have been just fine.
I agree. Like he's absolutely pointless. Before it exploded, he realized his Jimmy guitar was missing. And the reason he blames Colleen, when I talked about the Scooby-Doo clue, that appears here where his Jimi Hendrix guitar was. Her hat is there. Why would they leave her hat?
A clue. So has Jazz been attacked by the Armani Cowboys yet?
No.
Okay, that's coming up.
No, it's coming up because this is where Ford walks out front and he goes, "Oh, they brought my baby back." And he's talking about his car and he goes to do his little
and it
explodes up. It explodes. It blows up, like you said. And then they got a hitchhike. And this is where a Corvette pulls up and says, "Need a lift?" Then they drive off. Yeah. And the Corvette's license plate is unpoor.
And that's Willie Garson driving the Corvette.
This is where Melody, who hit on him at the bar earlier, shows up and proceeds to take him to a sorority house that is the most ridiculous sorority house that I've ever seen in a movie. They're all pretty much in like the same part of the house, and they're not naked, which is the only thing that was missing from this scene was actual nudity, because they're almost nude in some of it.
They're all scantily clad, but none of them are naked.
Yeah, and I was just in awe of everything that was going on, so I decided to write down every single thing that is happening in what seems to be one room. So they're bending over a lot, wearing pants that pretty much go right up in there and show everything. And then they're playing Twister. They're aerobicizing. They're eating corn dogs like they're giving oral sex. They're blowing bubbles, eating popcorn, reading magazines, having a pillow fight, changing a light bulb, and showing underboob. During all that, all at the same time, all this is going on in the same room. And I don't mean like there's 2 people doing each activity. I mean, there's like 10 to 20 people doing all this stuff. How many people live in this house? Because there was like hundreds of girls.
At least 100 women in this house.
And the house was not that big. It was big. It's not housing all these people.
And then at some point, they want to initiate Ford.
They want to make an honorary sorority member.
And they start doing some sort of, initiation. I was really zoning out at this point.
They asked Ford a bunch of questions too. And that's something else I wrote down because since he's the rock and roll detective, they heard so much about him. They had to ask him, what do you know about these celebrities? And these are the questions that he gets asked. But I have questions about the questions. So the first question is, does Van Halen sleep in the nude? So my question was, which Van Halen? Eddie or Alex? Or the band? Yeah. So then did Debbie Gibson, oh my God, I can't talk. Does Debbie Gibson sleep with Van Halen? Again, Eddie, Alex, the band. So they start inducting him as an honorable member of their sorority. So Ford sees the bikers come up and goes outside, and guess who parked out there? Unpoor.
Yes, Mr. Unpoor.
So he pushes Unpoor's car down the hill, and it smashes in all the bikes.
Neutral and pushes it.
And then the biker dudes, one of their bikes gets messed up, and then they just blow up the Unpoor car. They just throw a grenade in it, and it explodes. And that's when Ford walks up and goes, "Need a lift?" And then Jazz walks up because, we glossed right over that. How the bikers knew where he was in the first place is that they went to his business, found Jazz, held her at gunpoint. Ford calls and says,
he's at the I Ate a Pie sorority.
I didn't even catch that's what it said. I didn't realize it was I Ate a Pie. Wow. Yeah, that he's there, and that's how they figure it out, and they throw her out the second story window. Right. And she ends up walking up the hill all beat up.
But totally fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
She is so dedicated to Ford Fairlane, and he totally doesn't deserve it.
That's where they find out that Zuzu has another pedal. God, man, I am so good at English today. They find out she has another CD.
Yes.
So they're like, there's more than one CD. So this is where Ford wants to confront Colleen because he thinks Colleen's behind all this, and he's going to tell Julie Grendel this is what's going on. Gets up there, thinks he's going to tell him the whole thing. Julie Grendel ends up shooting Colleen, and that's when Ford realizes, I was wrong about all of this.
Julian Grendel kills Colleen. I wrote bad guys. I assume it's the Armani Cowboys chase Ford and Zuzu to the top of the Capitol Records building, which is kind of cool.
There's dumb stuff that happens. Like when he shoots Colleen, he gets down in Colleen's face, and she's going, and he goes, "What? Julian smuggling aardvarks?" What? And she goes, "Art Mooney, stupid." And trying to tell him that's the clue. So here's something that bugged me. This is how they get away. Julian Grendel ends up leaving and tells him to kill him, but not quickly. And he ends up taking one of Zuzu's earrings and putting gum on the end of it and sticking it in the outlet in order to short the electricity and make the power go out. He sticks it in the socket, power goes out, they run out. Now, like you said, they run to the top of the building. It takes the bad guys like another 5 minutes to get to the door that goes to the stairs. How in the hell did they know they went up and not down? Because naturally, most people would assume down. So they get up there, and that's where one of the biker dudes and Smiley end up chasing him down the side of the Tower Records building. One of the things that happened to Ford is, we are terrible in skipping over details. Grendel had thrown Ford's Jimi Hendrix guitar out the window. So that ruined Ford's life. And so keep that in mind because it's out there on the building. There's lots of fighting as they go down, and they end up at one point falling, and they fall through one of the panels on the side of the building. And somehow Ford is through one panel, hanging halfway through it with his legs obviously through the end of it. Zuzu's grabbing his legs, and Smiley is holding on to her legs. The physics behind how this happened, I don't understand, but whatever. This is a live action cartoon at this point. I mean, this movie has went full blown cartoon. And he finds his guitar, and when he sees it, he starts crying because it's all scratched up and banged up. And then he just is like, oh, well, I guess I got to get rid of it. And he throws it down and hits Smiley with it. And Smiley falls. But when he falls, the dude falls from super high up and smashes through a piano. And what I noticed is as Ford and them...
Do we just have piano movers out there moving a piano?
Yeah, in the middle of the night. Or the evening or whatever. And so as they get down to the bottom floor, in the background, you can see the piano movers are just picking up pieces of the piano. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, where's Smiley? Where are the police? They seem to be not concerned with the fact that a guy just fell from the sky and killed their piano. They're just picking up the pieces.
If anyone doesn't know the Capitol Records building, it's shaped to look like a stack of vinyl records. Pretty cool building.
So something we glossed over, Robert Englund's wearing the other Fred Flintstone ring.
Right.
And so he doesn't want to kill Robert Englund because he thinks he's the kid's dad, which later on you'll learn that he killed the kid's dad. He's not his dad.
And he just kept the ring as a trophy.
So when they get off the building and like you can see the piano people picking up all the pieces in the background, a family walks up to them and goes, excuse me, can you tell me how to get to Mann's Chinese Theater?
Tourists.
And he tells them, go back to Michigan, wipe. And the guy goes, yeah, we're from Wisconsin. And he goes, yeah, and I'm from my dad's penis. And then that's when Zuzu sees on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, there's a star that says Art Mooney.
Yep.
And Clay pushes on the little thing in the middle of it, and inside of it's a disc.
Now, I have a question. I should have researched this. This would have been good. Do we know who Art Mooney is?
No, I have no idea if Art Mooney's even a real person. I didn't bother to look either. I thought, well, they didn't know who he was, so he must not be real. But
right.
Now I'm going to Google it and be like, oh, he was a real person.
And he's got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
So from here, Ford had learned from Grendel when he was up there that Grendel was going to kill Don Cleveland at the club.
And frame him as the killer of...
Yeah, he's going to say that Colleen and Bobby Black were all in this little circle of ripping him off.
Well, I think they weren't they? Bobby Black was.
No, Bobby Black discovered that he was bootlegging the discs. Johnny Crunch, he says, got stupid and tried to blackmail me.
That's right.
But he said Colleen didn't want anybody to get hurt. That's why I left her for last. And then he was going to kill Don Cleveland and said that the next day in the paper, all this stuff that was going to come out saying that they've been ripping him off and all that. Grendel wants these discs. So Ford goes to the club where they're at. And just as the biker dude's about to kill Cleveland Jazz and them pull up in their car and hit the biker dude. Now, here's something I don't understand. The biker dude's not dead. Not even like broken legs and arms or anything. And then Ford and Zuzu run inside and just leave Jazz in the alley with the biker dude. Right. Like, why would you do that? Why would you not at least, incapacitate him completely before leaving this tiny woman, which I'm going to call baloney. I don't care how much karate she knows. That dude would have whipped her. Bruh. And so they go in the club. Ford's got the discs and he confronts Grendel with the discs. They end up walking backstage as they introduce Kyle Troy. And then as you see Grendel walk off, he drops the mic and you can tell that Zuzu picks up the mic and then follows back there with him. And Grendel ends up revealing the whole plot, basically mic'd. And while he's doing it, he starts bashing Kyle Troy. And they cut to Kyle Troy, and this dude has got like crocodile tears coming down because he's sad.
Well, he's so funny, too. He's so milquetoast and wimpy.
But what's so good about when Grendel's talking about how much he hates the music industry, and when he goes, I even pissed in the punch bowl.
Yes,
and then everybody starts spitting out all the punch. And then one of the parts of this scene is when Ford shows him the discs. Grendel goes, okay, we'll just hand him over, and then punches him and then takes the discs. He breaks them in half and then starts biting them in half. And I was like, have you ever broke a CD? They don't just break. Sometimes they bend completely and then pop apart.
Right.
And then I'm like, you would have ripped your lips apart and all that stuff. I'm like, what is he doing? And then Ford goes, might I suggest the copies for dessert? And he pulls out more discs.
That's right.
And then that's when you realize that Zuzu had been miking him the whole time and he revealed his whole plot. Grendel comes on the stage and grabs Zuzu pedals because she's got the mic. He has a gun. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, where do you go from this? You're going to jail. You're not getting away with this at this point. You're caught. An entire crowd of people.
You're found out.
Yeah. So it's like, what's the point to maybe he thinks he's going to be able to escape somehow? That's the kind of stuff that gets written in the movies where I'm always like, this doesn't make sense. This is not, this is illogical.
At some point, normal people would have cut their losses.
Yeah. For somebody who's been this meticulous with all his plotting and everything he did, he seems to want to tell everybody. So during all this, Jazz is out in the alley having a karate fight with the biker dude. And this is where Sam the sleazebag shows up and says, I used to be just like you, abusing women. He's completely reformed. He's even got flowers for the pussycats. And then he ends up using
one. Well, he saves the day. Yeah, he saves Jazz.
Yeah, he ends up using Clay's thing that he used earlier in the movie where he grabs a guy and says, you're 10 seconds away from the most embarrassing moment in your life. He uses that on him, knocks out the biker dude, then goes in the building and ends up hanging out with the pussycats because... hey, no longer raping.
He's a good guy now.
Yeah, it's all
water under the bridge.
It's pretty much done and over with. You have Amos show up. He's angry because it was disco night at the club he was at.
Have we talked about how he killed Julian Grendel?
No, I'm sorry. I skipped right over it. I forgot that he does kill Julian Grendel. So after the fight with Jazz, we're in the club. Grendel's on stage. Jazz walks up to him with the Sambuca milkshake, which during all this, they had enough time to go get a milkshake made. Gives it to him. He throws it on Grendel, then throws his cigarette at him and goes, you're fired. And he lights on fire. And that's how he kills him. From here, Zuzu gives him a kiss. Jazz sees it, thinks that it's another bimbo thing, leaves angry. This is what I did not understand. She calls him an a-hole when she leaves and is mad at him. But then at the end of the movie, when Ford's sitting on the beach sulking, she shows back up, ready to be like, I'm in love with you. But I want to point something out.
She can't quit him.
Yeah, it's like she's addicted to the bad boy. I just want to point something out about when she shows up to the beach. She drives her car right onto the beach, gets out of her car. She's wearing a football jersey with long sleeves, suspenders, pants that look like horse riding pants, and cowboy boots. It is the most ridiculous outfit I've ever seen in my life. It is so ridiculous that when Miranda walked through the room, she goes, what the hell is she wearing? I was
That's so funny. I didn't pay any attention.
I'll have to show you. It is quite the outfit. And then her and Ford go back and forth.
And also, we get resolution with the little boy.
Yeah.
Because he comes up to Ford. He's like, did you figure out who my dad is? And Ford holds up his hand and he's got the
Fred Flintstone.
Yeah, it's me. I'm your dad. And the kid's like,
yeah, he goes, what kind of sentimental BS is this?
Yeah.
And what makes it funny is when Ford tells Jazz that he loves her and wants to give up all this other life, she says the same thing. What kind of sentimental BS is this? And
that's all she has wanted the whole movie is the sentimental BS.
Ford's house is in ruins. It's exploded.
Works.
Yes, and the phone works, and the phone rings. And throughout this whole movie, they've been answering the phone, hit pay dirt with K dirt, because there's $1 million contest that if you say that when you answer the phone, you win. Guess what? He wins. And the movie ends with them on a giant cruise liner, and the koala's there because he goes, we wouldn't really kill the koala, would we? And then it just ends.
It's Ford, it's Jazz, it's the boy, and the koala. They're all sitting on deck chairs.
I don't know how Justin feels, but if you go and look at my letterbox, Murmur Man, 4. I love this movie. It is so stupid. And I full on can understand if somebody told me I think it's a terrible movie, I won't argue with them because I'll be like, I agree. It is what it is. But I see past all that. I have tapped into my inner 14-year-old and love this.
I feel like I have enjoyed talking with you about the movie more than the actual movie.
That's what I noticed.
There's a lot of funny bits. A bunch of it's a stand-up. Stand-up's funny. But still, I think it's a crap movie.
Yeah, and that's fine. I get it, man. Like I said, it's a terribly written movie. It's got so many things that just, there's like so much like pointless, like why is this even in the movie scenes? But I just love it. I'm able to look past it because I think part of it is just I love Andrew Dice Clay's performance in this movie so much just because it's so ridiculous. And like I've told you 1,000 times, movies that really get me are movies that have tons of little subtle jokes and minor things that if you don't pay attention, it'll go right past you. And every time I watch this movie, I see one more dumb thing I never noticed before.
Yeah, the funniest thing I thought was when he's thinking about the late Johnny Crunch and he's thinking back how they were friends. And he finds this headshot of him and Johnny. They're dressed up like polka dancers. And
they look like they could have been in the Osmonds.
Yes, FF and Captain John is the name of their group. It's just so ridiculous. It's so funny.
It's definitely a movie that if you can watch it and turn your brain off, you're going, because you have to. There's no other way to enjoy it. It's an entertaining movie. Like, to me, it'd be a movie that if you watched with friends, I think you might like it even more because you guys can laugh and point out all the dumb stuff in it. To me, it's a good, bad movie to watch for all the stupid that's in it.
If you have like a half dozen Coronas, that doesn't hurt.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And if you are somebody, who grew up in the Clay era and liked Clay but have never seen this movie, it's right up your alley. You're going to love it.
It's just hard to explain the whole Andrew Dice Clay event. It's what it was. His meteoric rise till his downfall. Clay was, for like 5 minutes, the biggest star in the world. And then there was backlash against his misogynistic routine.
Yeah, and then, like I said, they delayed the movie. If it would have came out when it was going to come out, it would have competed against, I don't remember what 2 comedies, but they were not big comedies. One of them was Bird on a Wire, which it probably would have been able to survive against it.
I think that movie was a flop as well.
Yeah, I don't believe it did well either. I don't think it would have been some $150 million movie, but I think they would have made their money back possibly if they'd have came out while Clay was pre-backlash.
People were able to use this as their thing they can get mad about for like 5 minutes.
And in 1990, we were driving straight towards it's about saving the kids and all this other stuff that we still can't seem to get away from.
Yep.
All right, folks. That's been the show. Thanks for listening.
Goodbye.
We hope you enjoyed the show, but it's time